Right now at 6, just 3 days to go until drug possession could result in jail time. What we're learning about enforcement on public transit.
It's about getting back to a safe, reliable, and clean transit service.
And the governor gives an update on Oregon's unprecedented fire season.
It's been aggressive. It's been very difficult on a lot of people, a lot of communities, and it's not over.
Plus, a heads up this holiday weekend if you're planning on hitting the highway.
Prices have been mostly slowly declining, so that's good news for drivers.
Then the drive to get essential school supplies to students as they head back to class.
15,403 students helped so far.
How you can still pitch in to help.
Well, a very good evening, everyone, on this Thursday that kind of feels like a Friday. We want to get right to a breaking traffic alert on the Oregon coast with a live look at Cannon Beach, where just a handful of miles to the south, the main north-south artery, Highway 101, is closed in both directions.
The closure is at milepost 39. That's 4 miles north of Manzanita in the Oswald West State Park area. If you're familiar with the Cape Falcon trailhead, the closure is actually where several parking areas are located along the highway. And we want to show you this picture that we just got from ODOT into the newsroom. You can see a section of the sidewalk to the left there has completely fallen away. The railing, though, still in place. ODOT says crews need to inspect the damaged section, and they're fully closing the bridge as a precaution. At this point, they'll have to decide if it needs to stay fully closed or if one lane can be opened.
You can certainly understand from the crumbling edge there why they need to take a look. This means the main coastal route between Cannon Beach and Manzanita is currently a no-go in either direction. To get around, you'll need to take Highway 26 east to State Route 53 south or vice versa. That is a substantial detour. Of course, we'll keep you updated as soon as we learn more. Well, meanwhile, let's talk about that dry heat and those gusty winds with what we're calling 2 weather impact alert days on the way.
Meteorologist Chris McGinnis joining us now in the Weather Center. Chris, how hot are we talking here?
We're talking near triple-digit heat by the time we get into Saturday, so it's going to be a bit of a weather whiplash, right? It's been 3 weeks since we've hit the 90-degree mark here in Portland, and summer is clearly not done with us yet. Our KGW weather impact alert days are for Friday and Saturday for afternoon temperatures at 95 or better. I actually have us at 96 tomorrow and 98 on Saturday. So that is the impact. The time frame is in the afternoons. You know, it's been a while since we've been this hot, right? Weeks. So we're gonna feel this, and the need there was obviously to just reduce your outdoor activity a bit during the heat of the day, the hot hours, and stay hydrated if you do have to work outside. All right, the temperature changed, as we mentioned, a little bit of whiplash here. We are 13 degrees warmer right now at Portland International than we were yesterday at this time. 16 degrees warmer at Salem. We currently sit in the 90s right now, 91 down from our high of 93 degrees earlier today. 90 in Hillsborough, it's 91 in King City in the big perspective right now. Salem right now checking in with 94. The plan for the next several hours, well, that's the wind forecast, which is not all that bad. The temperature should generally ease back down into the upper 70s as we get past sunset. But again, another scorcher of a day for Friday and Saturday, too. Some cooling comes in on Sunday. We'll look at that coming up in just a few minutes.
Sounds great. Thank you, Chris. And as we talk about the heat, Oregon's governor is warning that a difficult fire season is far from over.
John Adams is live for us this evening outside the Northwest Interagency Coordination Center in downtown Portland. John, this hot weather we're expecting, definitely a reminder that we're not out of the woods.
We're definitely not out of the woods yet. The governor said earlier today we're actually just now entering the most dangerous part of what has been a costly wildfire season, a season that could last for nearly 2 more months. So far, the state has seen over 1.5 million acres burned and 32 homes destroyed. 6,500 personnel remain in the field fighting about a dozen fires that are currently burning across the state. Despite some relief over the past few weeks from rain showers, the governor says it hasn't been enough to rescue many parts of the state from ongoing drought conditions. The governor adds the cost of fighting this season's fires has surpassed $240 million, and fatigue has set in for crews that have been on fire lines for more than 2 months.
This is very expensive fire season. Because of the hard work of the folks here and all the crews across the state, we've been able to protect a lot of communities. But I can tell you, this team and what we've been doing this season has been pushed to the brink.
The governor is also reminding people to remain vigilant over the Labor Day holiday weekend if you're camping or heading outdoors. Now, Kotek also said the state needs to take a long-term look at how the state funds the fight against wildfires, because the governor said wildfires going forward aren't going to get any easier in years to come. David and Christine, back to you.
John Adams downtown. Thank you, John. Well, meanwhile, we are learning more about the deadly police shooting of a shoplifting suspect earlier this week in Beaverton.
That shooting happened Monday outside the Nordstrom Rack across from Washington Square Mall after store employees called police and reported a shoplifter. We've learned Officer Ryan Barbut, a 20-year Beaverton police veteran, and Officer Juan Flores, a trainee in his 11th month on the job, were the officers who responded. The accused shoplifter, 39-year-old Jacob Bundy, was walking out of the store when they arrived. Here's what a sheriff's department detective says happened next.
While they were attempting to effect an arrest, Mr. Bundy pulled out a handgun. While struggling with officers, Mr. Bundy fired his weapon, and a Beaverton police officer shot Mr. Bundy.
We understand the officers called an ambulance and gave Bundy first aid, but he died at the scene. They are currently on paid administrative leave. To your headlines now. 2 people have been arrested in connection with a 2023 homicide in Southeast Portland. 26-year-old Callie Bolden died from injuries she suffered during a shooting last October at Southeast Foster and 86th. Over the weekend, detectives and U.S. Marshals in Washington arrested William Watson and Candace Hicks. Watson is charged with murder. Hicks attempted murder. Bolden left behind 3 kids, all under the age of 10.
A Portland man has pleaded guilty to shooting and killing 2 men last summer. In June of last year, 29-year-old Fortresson Oriaki from Gresham and 25-year-old Isida Homan Ikuria, visiting from Nigeria, were gunned down while driving in Northeast Portland's Hollywood neighborhood. Investigators think a suspected cocaine dealer, 25-year-old Bennett Miller, pulled the trigger. The Oregonian says Miller told detectives he mistook the identities of the 2 men and confessed to shooting them at a stoplight. He's expected to be sentenced to life in prison next month.
The union representing thousands of Fred Meyer workers returned to the bargaining table today as employees hit the picket lines for a second day street. Union leaders say negotiations have stalled over wages and retirement funding. Fred Meyer denies allegations of unfair labor practices and says it remains focused on reaching a new deal on a new contract. The strike, which impacts more than 24 metro area stores, could last until Tuesday.
And today, the Biden administration announced 2 areas off the coast of southern Oregon will be auctioned off in October to be used for wind energy. It estimates that floating wind turbines placed 18 to 32 miles off the coast could generate enough power to 1 million homes. Commercial and tribal fishers oppose that project, saying the turbine farms will cut off access to established fishing grounds that produce sustainable food.
Well, it is Thursday, which means we are just 3 days out from drug possession in Oregon once again becoming a crime.
To get ahead, TriMet is increasing the number of its own officers across its systems. Our Sydney Dorner is live at the Providence Park Max stop in Southwest Portland. Sydney, what will these officers be able to do if they run into drug use?
David, Christine, under this new law that goes into effect Sunday, officers can cite people who have drugs, resulting in up to 180 days in jail. But this new approach doesn't end there. This law also aims to put people into deflection programs, with TriMet saying the ultimate goal is always recovery. If you have taken TriMet across Portland, chances are you've seen someone using hard drugs.
It's almost an everyday occurrence, especially at 122nd and Burnside, right there at the bus stop.
Just walking right past it because you get so desensitized to it, it's everywhere.
But starting Sunday, September 1st, Oregon is putting into action HB 4002, recriminalizing publicly having hard drugs in small amounts, putting pressure on TriMet to focus in on drugs throughout their system, something they say they've already been working on.
We've been working on this over the last couple of years to really reduce the amount of incidents that were happening on the train since really post-COVID. We started to see some increase in the use of things like fentanyl on our stations and platforms, and even at times on the train.
Leaving officers with more rights to enforcement, with the ability to cite anyone with drugs under this new law, which can result in up to 180 days in jail. TriMet Safety and Security says they currently have over 400 personnel in the field and working towards 500.
They have not had this same level of ability to address open drug use as they do now with HB 4002 for several years. So we're really optimistic that this additional tool and their use of it, and I'm talking about our law enforcement personnel, is going to create some great benefits for TriMet.
The law also gives counties the ability to offer deflection programs that mandate the person go into addiction services instead of jail.
It says a good step forward, but I think the best thing is to try to get these people help.
All news TriMet riders are glad but skeptical to hear.
Criminalizing it again, I don't know that that's a solution, but I think it's going to create a bigger mess.
Now, keep in mind a separate law goes into place January 1st that will specifically target the use of drugs on any public trains or buses. Back to you.
Sydney Dorner in the Goose Hollow neighborhood tonight. Thank you, Sydney. Hey, straight ahead at 6, our favorite day of the KGW School Supply Drive, a parade of supplies and volunteers showing what you have made possible.
And why hitting the road this Labor Day weekend might make less of a dent in your bank account than you expected.
I'm Blair Best. Coming up tonight on The Story, we're just 3 days out until drug possession becomes a crime again in Oregon. And we're looking into what those here at Portland Fire and Rescue are doing to bring withdrawal medicine straight to the streets. Their partnership with police coming up tonight at 6:30 on The Story.